It's that time again. It's the podcast that takes your personal and professional life to a whole new level. Whether you're selling a product, selling a service, or selling yourself, one thing is for sure. You're always selling for life. All right, and welcome to another episode of the Selling for Life podcast, sponsored by Conoco Parts, a world of parts with a personal touch. This podcast is about more than just selling stuff. We think if you stick around, you'll get a lot out of it. I'm Steve, and today, back in the house is Mr. Al Alexander. Hello, Al.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm so glad to have you back. Where have you been?
I have been planning for next year.
Really? What are you planning?
More sales.
Okay.
Growing the business.
All right.
Employing more people.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. It's always good to look ahead, I should say. Look forward to things coming up and looking ahead in when you're running a business, I suppose, right?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Well, so we do it.
What did you do today, Al?
I had cold tater tots.
Yep.
I ate a lot. Finished payroll.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Worked on some marketing.
Okay.
Trying to figure out the Google monster.
Yes.
That's about it. Oh, I met with a sales rep, trying to encourage them about goal setting and proactive contact with their customer, planning out a connection plan, over the course of a year. How many times should you touch a customer?
Okay.
Oh, it was great. Good meeting.
Good deal. What else did you do today? Notice you're walking around a little stiff.
Worked out with Ryan Luce.
Worked out. What did you guys work on today?
Oh, we beat ourselves up.
Yeah?
Arms, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps.
Really?
Yeah. We did like 12 sets of 12 of curls. And
Did he talk you into doing extra workout?
Oh, dude.
Exercise?
He always just keeps on pushing me.
Yeah?
Let's hit this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's add that. And then let's do push-ups until we can't do anymore. at the end.
And then when you object, how does he overcome your objections?
Well, he just says, just do it. What are you, a pansy? It's peer pressure.
Yeah.
And ridicule.
Okay. Gotcha.
Man up, stuff like that.
All right. Well, that does bring us to our topic of the day, segueing off of that. And our topic of the day is objections.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should objectify women either.
No, that's not what we're talking about, Al.
Oh.
You said you planned on doing that. I knew it was going to be dumb, and it was dumb.
I'm sorry.
Well, we're going back to objections because we did this once about 3-4 weeks ago, and I got a little silly. And Bob, one of our listeners, said, listen, I really do want to learn about overcoming objections, so can you maybe make it a little more serious this, next time around? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at handling objections, which, of course, is probably the top topic when it comes to sales. Because if you can't handle objections, Al, can you sell?
No.
Not really, right? So why don't you take it from here, your views on handling objections.
All right. Sounds good. So from the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
We don't go by that far.
Anyways.
Listen, before we go any further, everybody who's gotten this far into the podcast listening, we've probably lost a few already, but if you're still listening, stick around because we're going to do something really fun. We're going to call some of our inside employees without letting them know and see how they handle objections.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And we're going to record it. So stick around for that. Okay, Al, go ahead. Objections.
Okay. Yeah, so basically what we're dealing with is people think there's a magical formula or something you can say or do to overcome what's happening on the other side of the phone or on the other side of the table. In actuality, the mindset is wrong. If you're thinking about it in that way, what you're really saying is, I just want to force someone to do this. How do I manipulate them to get this way or think that way?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it in the right manner, what you're trying to do is you're trying to discover what is happening in this whole scenario. Why, what, who, how, when, all these things need to be asked, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to find out the needs and whys of things,
Right.
so that you can consult with customers and seeing what you can come to a solution that benefits them and you and your company. If you think about it in that way, right, a consultative way where you're helping somebody, you're digging deeper, that's how you handle objections. You handle it with the idea that I want to understand what's happening. Why are you saying this? What could we do that's different? Or how does this help you? That's the right attitude. And if you approach it that way, you can actually come up with a lot of solutions in your own type of objection handling.
Right. Let me stop you right there. It brings me to a soundbite I want to play, and then we'll continue on. Listen to this, and then we'll go, because I really like the way you started what you just said.
Now, how many of you have been selling for as long as a year? Can I see your hand? All right. How many of you still got all of the money that you've earned in the last 12 months? Can I see your hands? Okay. Let me ask you a question. How many of you got clients or customers whom you sold a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago that are still using and enjoying the benefits of what you sold to them all those years ago? Can I see your hand? Now, the next question is the critical one. How many of you believe that the customer was the biggest winner in the transaction? All right, then if that is the case, is the sales process something you do to somebody, or is it something you do for somebody? Now, when you understand that, you're in position to begin to close the sale.
You said in the very beginning, it's kind of like understanding the whole sales process and why you are going to try to overcome objections. Because a lot of people will think, well, what you're trying to do is just manipulate them into seeing what you want them to see. But Al, is that not the case?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not something you do to someone. Selling is what you do for them. Absolutely. Go Ziegler. That was Zig Ziglar. He's the man. Objections are things like, it's too expensive. I got to check with my wife. I got to check with my boss. I have to think about it. Those are objections that we're talking about today.
And the people that are giving those objections, they fully believe that that's the real reason why they are not making a decision at that moment. But psychologically, I think they're almost just delaying or trying not to, they're just avoiding the decision they have to make.
Yeah, think about it in a sense. If you're a professional salesperson, if you're providing a service to somebody, you're doing it multiple times a day. Now, in our business, they're emergency purchases most of the time. It's not something that you're gaining performance or you're trying to upgrade or you want a luxury. Our type of help to our customer is to really provide like an EMT service, So the way I think about it in objections is, what would an EMT do? He'd assess the situation by asking questions, by looking at what he can do. How'd this happen? What happened? What happened when? And get the history of what's happening so that he can triage the situation and get the best help for you in an emergency, right? So when we're consulting with people that have, say, this idea of like, oh, it's too expensive, or the price isn't right, or I need this, or I need that, or I got to check here, I got to do that. A lot of times that comes out as just a knee-jerk reaction, right? Or they don't like you. That can happen too. So, and you have to be real about it. So you can't manipulate or convince somebody that doesn't have $2,000 at all to give you $2,000 if they only have $1,000.
Right.
I would tell that person, could you afford the $2,000? No. Okay. What do you have? I'm asking, well, we only have $1,000. Okay. If it was $1,000, would you buy it right now? And they might say, yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, that's an exchange that is dealing with reality.
Right.
Right. The reality is there's a budget constraint, right? Can you sell things half off, that's possible. My point is that you want to get down to the understanding of what we're dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone just saying an objection that, oh, that's too expensive. What do? Sometimes you just, yeah, but it's this. Oh, it's fancy. And it's yellow. It's gold. It's shiny. Oh, it's going to last forever. If I only have $1,000 and it costs $2,000, I don't care if it's shiny.
Right.
Do you?
Right.
I ain't got it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is that you need to deal with reality in sales. And a lot of people don't do that. And that's why salespeople get a bad name, because they got blinders on. Oh, I got to see the next thing. I just have to say it so I can do it because my manager's going to he's going to yell at me. And it's not even relevant. Like some things that come out of people's mouth that are untrained or under the gun, just don't know how to handle the situation. They come across really poorly, and it gives sales reps a bad name. So deal with reality, investigate, and find out what's going on. Ask the why questions,
Mm-hmm.
So what about I'll think about it? What do you want to think about? How about just saying that? Oh, tell me what you want to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the price? Was it the value? Is it the warranty length? Is it the time of delivery? I mean, you can just ask, right? Don't get locked up when someone says, I'll think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about something before you purchased it, Steve?
Yes. Now, a lot of people will just say that because they just want to get away from you. They don't want to be engaged. Now, it's different here where we're at because people call us. But for those sales professionals that are calling out and they're cold calling and they get those type of responses, and their responses to kind of just get that salesperson out of their way, is it still a scenario where the salesperson can ask enough questions to maybe move them in the right direction?
I absolutely believe that.
Okay.
I think you're only a question or 2 or 10 questions away from understanding how things fit.
Okay.
And I want everyone to understand the best salesperson, the best sales company cannot fulfill 100%
Right.
of the opportunity.
Right.
It's just impossible. So have some relatively sound, understanding of that. Because there's going to be people and situations and whatever that just don't match, and you should absolutely come clean and say that to somebody. Like, yeah, I don't think this is a good fit for you. I don't think this should work out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that has integrity in it, in a sense of like saying to someone, I'm just not the best solution. I don't see how this is going to work for you. I mean, to be completely honest, not enough people do that. But on the other side is like you're saying, well, someone says, I'll think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That could be, I want to get away from you. Okay, that's fine. What did you want to think about allows them to express what process they're going to go through to decide whether you're valuable or not, whether what you're offering is valuable or not. And then you can kind of get an idea of like, hey, did you paint a good picture of what you're offering?
Mm-hmm.
Do they see the pros and cons? Do they see the value that you try to build? And then you can try to do that again with more questions. So that's why I always ask a question rather than hearing an objection and making a statement.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's the best way to go because they're objecting for a reason. You just need to understand why.
There's a lot of psychology in it, of course. And I'm wondering how often just recognizing the elephant in the room, whereas I'm a sales guy and you're not too comfortable talking to a sales guy right now, and just coming basically clean with that fact. Is that ever a good approach? Saying, hey, I know that you might be saying you're just got to think about it because you just want to get me off the phone, but I do really want to know like what you have to think about. Is that ever a way of handling an objection?
Yeah. What you want to do is find common ground. So the approach you're suggesting, you would basically want to find a common ground and be like, I completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in your situation or I'm viewing this type of scenario or choice, I do the same thing. I take a minute, I take a day, I take a week, and I think about it. I ask advice of friends. You know what I mean? I totally come clean and let them know I understand. And then I ask a question.
Okay.
And that's the key. So psychologically, if I were going to say I understand, to be completely honest with somebody, and then maybe even give how I understand, and then ask a question, What I'm saying to somebody is that we are on the common ground. Defenses come down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now let's deal with whys. Why are we waiting? What do you have to think about?
Mm-hmm.
Is it this or that? And offering an either or question even to guide somebody. Because, again, you're consulting them. You're not doing something to them. You're doing it for them.
Right.
If somebody's out pool shopping and you're a pool salesperson, you're going to want to ask, why do they want a pool?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the pool going to go? How long have they been thinking about it? How long have they been saving? How do they plan on paying for it when they're ready?
Mm-hmm.
Who's involved in the decision making? You're going to be asking, hopefully, right? And all that stuff is weaved into what kind of pool do you want and what color and what shape? Oh boy, are you going to be swimming in it every day? I mean, you're going to want to build a complete profile, understanding their motivations, right? And their reasoning. And you suggested a sales where there's cold calling, where you're calling somebody up and just prospecting, or that's a totally different scenario. Handling that kind of scenario is very similar, but that's a totally different scenario. The kind of stuff I'm talking about is maybe somebody gets a hold of you, they're looking for something, and you're convincing them or trying to influence them that your offering is the best choice. And then we go from that. That's kind of the scenario we work in, which we get called all the time, emailed all the time. People are in need. We just need to make sure they know we're the right choice when the final decision is being made.
Mm-hmm. So you have the objection of too much money. You have the objection of I have to think about it. And let's throw one more in there. The objection of I got to talk to my wife.
Got to talk to my wife. Or boss.
Boss.
Yeah, wife and boss, same thing.
I have to pray about it.
That's the boss.
Then we just say, let's pray right now.
Yeah. Okay, let's pray right now. If you're a praying man, then pray with them.
That's right.
But don't do it to show off, you goofball.
All right, so...
Okay, so, yes. There's 3 main objections that you're going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be price, I'll think about it, and I got to check with my boss, my wife, my God.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yeah. Which wife and God are pretty close.
Yeah. So checking, see, this is the absolute exact way that I handle when someone says, oh, I need to check with my boss. I need to check with my wife. I immediately say, I totally understand. I have a boss, or I have a wife too. Mm-hmm. What did you want to specifically talk to them about? Mm-hmm. Was it and I give them 3 or 4 things, 2 or 3 things that they can pick from. And they're obvious because I sell the same thing every day in a sense, right? I know my product, I know my offering, I know my service, and I'm just going to ask them to try to clarify. And the reason why you want to clarify and hone down to at least a selection is because you want to understand more about what it is so that they have the complete information build out about what they need to think about or talk to their boss or talk to their wife about. Because if they're going off without a complete piece of information or offering, could be a quote, could be an invoice, whatever they need, could be brochures that show the things that, that wife or that boss would care about, then you haven't done your job. You haven't completely informed them about what is important, right?
Right.
That's the motivation and the purpose behind that. So digging deeper, hey, how can I help you talk to that person?
Right.
What is the most important thing that they would care about?
Right.
And you're asking about that.
And oh, by the way, they might be giving you a line there by saying they got to talk to somebody else. You might find out that ultimately they are the ones that are going to make the decision, and you were able to...
Which is completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care whether somebody's lying to me or not, or making up a story. I get that everybody has an agenda.
Right.
I think that you should too. You should not be offended. If I catch them in a scenario, you never want to back anybody in a corner. I learned that years ago.
Okay.
You always want to give everybody a way out.
Right.
Never point out anything that they had as an agenda or a move or, as you said, a lie. Mm-hmm. But honestly, your job is not to, be their father, so to speak, or their priest or, the one they confess to. So you're there to help them, whatever you're offering.
Gotcha.
So what do you think, man?
I think it's great, and I think I'm ready to have some fun.
Okay, go ahead. Let's do some role playing.
So what we're going to do is we're gonna no role playing. It's gonna go live.
We're going live to Conequip.
We're gonna call Conequip. Now you're gonna be the customer, okay? Mm-hmm. And maybe we'll have a little bit of fun in the background. You know, I'll be working with you alongside. You know, and I'll be talking to you every once in a while.
Sounds good.
But here we go.
Please hold for the next available agent.
Are they going to be able to hear us?
Yeah.
Thank you for contacting Conoco Park. How may I direct your call?
Yeah, can I speak to Potts, please?
Okay, give me just one moment.
You got to change your voice, Al, a little bit.
Thanks for calling Conequip. This is Ben. How can I help you?
Yeah, this is Devin Peston.
Hi, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Devin Preston.
Okay. What's going on today for you?
Looking for a final drive.
All right.
Komatsu PC 120-6.
I should have that. What happened to yours?
Blew up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Damn
How quick do
operators.
you need it?
They don't check the oil.
Hey, David! David!
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on.
Yep, you got it.
David, make sure. Yes, we got a sprocket too.
Yeah, we need a sprocket on that, too.
Need a sprocket too? Okay.
You heard that? Zeke is way too
I
loud.
heard that.
Zeke.
I think I heard him coming over the Niagara. I don't think that even went over the phone.
I'm sorry about him. He had too much coffee today.
I've got the drive, brand new replacement for $4,500, including delivery up to you in Sudbury. $4,700 delivered.
Canadian?
That'd be U.S.
Oh, man, that's too much.
Where you at? What's your best option right now?
I don't know how to do the math, but it's got to be, about a 20% difference?
Hey, David, see if they got a used final drive.
A used one?
Make sure you get don't be paying no more than you need to be paying for a final drive now.
Well,
Yeah, the 4,700 comes out to about 61.86 in Canadian. What's your best? You got a quote in Canadian to compare to?
I'm going to have to check with my boss.
Okay. I mean, I might be able to do better. I know there's Chinese drives out there. If you can give me some information on what you're looking at, if it's apples to apples, I really don't get beat on these final drives. I've got some costs going over the border with it and all, but still, it's unusual that I'm not the best option on something like this. I'm seeing there's Chinese stuff out there. I just Googled it, and I see where someone's got one out there for $3,100 US. It's guaranteed Chinese. It might fit. It'll probably fit. It's probably not going to travel straight. The quality is nowhere near what I'm supplying. If it's a price alone situation, that's I understand when that happens. If it's something like that you're looking at, I would I can go over the differences and tell you about the value of mine versus that. If you can get me some information, and like I'm not going to beat you up or pressure you to make a decision that's not right for you guys. I never do that.
Well, I appreciate that.
But, you said you had something right around 4 to 5 in Canadian?
Around that price is what I'm getting them for.
Okay.
But it's Canadian.
Yeah.
That's $6,000. That's a lot.
Darren, your wife is on the phone again. She called 3 times the last hour. You better call her back.
Hold on a second. Ben Clark. This is Al, your pal, and Steve Krentz.
Oh, come on.
And you did wonderful, Ben. He said, your wife is calling again.
Damn, your wife on the phone again. Damn woman calling like 3 times an hour. We got work to do over here. Ben, we're so sorry. We're doing a little podcast on objections, and I'll tell you what, I think Al was very impressed.
You did a good job, man. I said objections. I was so vague, and you kept me on the phone. You didn't give up. That's good.
So you want that delivered to 174 Thomas Street, right?
2712 West Ave.
Oh, shoot.
All right. Have a great day, Ben.
All right, we'll talk
Thanks
to you in
for
a
being
little
a
bit.
great sport.
Yeah, you are a good sport.
All right.
I know.
You the man.
All right, bye.
Later.
Okay, so Al, why don't you go over that? What did you think about Ben's performance there?
Yeah. He well, I'm objecting to price. I'm just kind of shooting out like, well, and he asked the question like, what other options did you have?
Mm-hmm.
And then he tried to, gain comparison. Even did some research. so that there would be an actual real example of what what we're comparing to.
Right.
So he knows his qualities from a certain manufacturer, and there's other manufacturers out there. Their quality difference is evident, hence the price difference. And he was bringing light to that, and obviously I was being very vague, trying to just say price. But he didn't give up in the sense of trying to understand and discover.
Right.
He even calculated for me the currency rate.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So he's hanging on, and it's not a real world situation that I make it up. And I tried not to laugh, so it was hard for me on my end.
You did good. You really sounded like Devin. Well, actually, you didn't. Devin's Canadian. You didn't sound Canadian at all.
I don't know how to do Canadian unless I hear Canadian.
You just have to say A lot.
A.
All right. Well, good job. That was a fun exercise. I think Ben did really well. I think you owe him lunch, quite honestly. And that brings us to the message to our company. And so, Al, what do you got to say to our fellow employees out there?
Just keep in mind that we are doing things for someone and not to them.
Right. Because they need what you're selling. So, for crying out loud, try to help them out.
Help them out. Understand.
Right? Okay. That's awesome. Well, you did a great job, Al. It was a great message. We went back at this again. The first time around, we were kind of goofing around, and this time around, we got a little serious, and hopefully that was helpful to our listeners out there. And that was it for our 17th Selling for Life podcast. Thank you for joining us. You can check out our website at sellingforlife.com. Leave a quick message on the website and let us know you heard the podcast. And you can also email us at contact@sellingforlife.com. So until next week, remember, whether you are handing out appetizer samples at Walmart or trying to convince your workout partner on the bench press to just, come on, you can do one more rep. One thing is for sure, you are always selling for life.